Gene Kelly. The name alone brings to mind incredible dance moves, classic movies, and a smile that could light up any room. He was a giant of Hollywood. But what about the people who knew him not just as a star, but as Dad? Gene Kelly had 3 children, Carrie, Timothy, and Bridget. Each grew up in the shadow of this massive talent, and each had to figure out how to carve their own path in the world. This isn't just about where they are now, it's about the incredible journeys they took, the battles they fought, and how they defined themselves outside of that legendary name. Number 3. Carrie Kelly. Novik, Gene's eldest, born to him and his first wife, actress Betsy Blair, way back in October 1942. Imagine growing up in Los Angeles when Hollywood was hitting its golden age. Their home wasn't just a house, it was a buzzing hub for creative and intellectual folks from New York. Artists, dancers, writers. Carrie was right there in the middle of it, a little kid listening to all these lively adult conversations. What's really interesting is that psychoanalysis, the study of the human mind, was a common topic in their house. Carrie said she can't remember not knowing about psychoanalysis because so many creative people around her were exploring it. It wasn't some stuffy academic thing, it was just part of the air she breathed. This early, almost casual introduction to the world of the mind definitely planted a seed. But it wasn't all art and intellectual chats. Politics was huge in their family. Her dad was a staunch Democrat, and her mom, Betsy Blair, faced the ugly reality of being blacklisted during the McCarthy era. Carrie remembers the family getting their first TV just to watch the Army McCarthy hearings, and she even stayed home from school to see them. Gene Kelly himself stood up for his friends, the Hollywood 10. Living through that, seeing people persecuted for their beliefs, must have given young Carrie a strong sense of justice and a deep understanding of social pressures. Pretty heavy stuff for a kid, but incredibly shaping. Gene and Betsy's marriage ended in 1957, but those early years were packed with creativity and ideas. There's even a sweet old magazine article from 1949 talking about little Carrie singing with her dad, already light on her feet like him. This mix of art, politics, and early psychological awareness really set the stage for who Carrie would become. So how did this Hollywood kid end up a respected psychoanalyst? Well, at 21, after studying literature, she decided to go for it. Back then, in the U.S., you usually needed a medical degree to become a psychoanalyst. But Carrie was in London, and things were a bit different in Europe. She was drawn to Anna Freud's work. Yes, that Freud's daughter, a giant in child psychoanalysis. Her first try, they basically told her she was too young, didn't have a psychology degree, and had no experience. Did she give up? Nope. Carrie went back, got that psychology degree. Still too young, still no practical experience. So she went out, got a job with the Medical Research Council, volunteered at a psychiatric hospital. Third time's the charm, right? She went back to Anna Freud's institute and pretty much said, "Okay, guys, I've done what you wanted." They took her, calling her an experiment in youth. Talk about persistence. Training with Anna Freud, who was in her 70s and a legend, was an extraordinary experience for Carrie. She described Anna Freud as brilliant, funny, witty, and super clear in her ideas, but also open-minded. Carrie, being a feisty American young person who was raised to speak her mind, found this a perfect fit. She wasn't just soaking up knowledge, she was actively engaging with it. She trained as a child analyst for 4 years and stayed on staff at the Hampstead Clinic, later the Anna Freud Center, until 1977. This place wasn't just about theories. It was big on community service, offering help to those who couldn't afford it. This idea of altruistic analysis really stuck with Carrie. For over 5 decades, Carrie, often with her husband Jack Novick, also a psychoanalyst, has built an amazing career. They focus on building emotional muscle in kids, teens, and adults, helping people use their strengths to overcome problems. She's been a big deal in major psychoanalytic groups like the International Psychoanalytic Association, and has chaired committees, served as president for the Association for Child Psychoanalysis, and taught at many institutes. And remember that community spirit from her training? Carrie co-founded the award-winning Allen Creek Preschool in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and the Arbor Clinic, offering low-fee mental health services. She didn't just build a career, she built institutions to help others. Carrie has also written a ton, often with her husband. Books like Working with Parents Makes Therapy, Work in Emotional Muscle, Strong Parents, Strong Children, show their practical, strength-based approach. They've even edited casebooks, bringing together stories and insights from analysts worldwide. When it comes to her father's legacy, Carrie has engaged with it thoughtfully. She's talked about a 1945 Navy film, Gene Kelly, directed on combat fatigue, linking it to modern understanding of PTSD. She wants people to see her father not just as a perfect icon, but as a real person with challenges, because that makes his story even more inspiring. Number 2, Timothy Kelly, Gene's son with his second wife, Gene Coyne, a talented dancer, and Gene's choreographic assistant. Timothy was born in March 1962, right into the heart of Hollywood. Gene actually told Gene she was pregnant with Timothy in a birthday card she sent him while he was in Paris filming. Sweet, right? Timothy grew up with his full sister, Bridget, and his older half-sister, Carrie. Tragically, his mother, Jean, passed away from leukemia in 1973, when Timothy was only about 11. Losing his mom so young while his dad was this huge global star must have been incredibly tough, and likely shaped his desire for a more private life later on. So, what path did Timothy choose? He went to the University of Southern California's USC Film School. This is interesting. He didn't shy away from his father's world, but decided to learn the ropes himself on his own terms. There was a fascinating peek into his early adult life in a 1984 People magazine article. The title was pretty telling. Tim Kelly doesn't have Gene's magic feet, but he made enough on an LA dance club to become an American in Paris. It hints at him striking out on his own, making his own money, and then moving to Paris, a city that echoes his father's famous film, and where he himself was conceived. This shows a young guy trying to build his own resources and see the world. A key thing about Timothy is his reported desire to achieve success on his own merit. He wasn't keen on the fame and fortune life. One source puts it plainly, he's the kind of man who'd rather get things on his own, which explains why there isn't a lot of public information about him. Even so, in that People interview, he did mention the striking physical resemblance to his father, saying, "Our shirt, sleeves, neck, shoulder size, everything is the same. It's amazing." A little nod to his dad, even as he was forging his own way. It's said that Timothy perhaps still works in the film industry after USC, but the details are scarce. This lack of public info seems to be a deliberate choice, a way to control his own narrative and avoid being constantly seen only as Gene Kelly's son. Number 1, Bridget Kelly. Gene and Gene Coyne's daughter, born in 1964. Like her brother Timothy, she lost her mother at a young age, Bridget being only 9. Her godfather was Jack Haley Jr., whose dad played the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz. Talk about growing up surrounded by Hollywood history. While her family was all about performance, Bridget found her creative outlet behind the scenes. She developed a passion for costume design. This led her to Paris for her education at the American College in Paris. Imagine that, studying design in one of the fashion capitals of the world. Her graduation in 1986 was a special moment. Not only did she get her degree, but her father, Gene Kelly, was there and was also honored by the college for his contributions to Franco-American friendship. A proud dad moment and a sign of Bridget stepping into her own professional light. After Paris, Bridget dived into the film industry as a costume designer. Someone even said she's perhaps the child who fills her father's shoes the most, since she is in the theater business herself. She worked on a bunch of films, mostly in the late 80s and 90s. Her credits include Winter People, Wardrobe Assistant, Pacific Heights, Costume Designer, Blue Steel, Assistant Costume Designer, The Mambo Kings, Costume Designer, Bob Roberts, Costume Designer, Dennis the Menace, Costume Designer, Airheads, Costume Designer, The Truth About Cats and Dogs, Costume Designer. She designed for thrillers, dramas, comedies, showing real versatility. After a busy decade, her film credits show a long gap until a film called Stay in 2021. This kind of break often means big life changes, and indeed, Bridget's life took a new direction. She met Joseph S. Camp III, Joe, an assistant director in Hollywood. They had a common-law marriage and 2 children. Sadly, they lost their first child in 2011. After her children were born, Bridget became a stay-at-home mom, which explains the pause in her film career. She later moved to Livingston, Montana. After separating from Joe Camp in 2013 and divorcing, Bridget started a new career as a para-educator for the Livingston School District. That's a big shift from Hollywood costume design to supporting education in a Montana community. Court documents from her divorce proceedings show her navigating financial realities, working to support her family, the unseen battle, the fight for a father's legacy. Now here's where the stories of Carrie, Timothy, and Bridget really converge. And it's a part of their lives that many people don't know about. It's the challenge of managing a legend's legacy. And it wasn't always smooth sailing. When Gene Kelly passed away in 1996, his widow, his third wife, Patricia Ward Kelly, became the trustee of the Eugene C. Kelly Image Trust. This trust holds the rights to Gene Kelly's name, image, likeness, basically his entire public persona, and intellectual property. Carrie, Timothy, and Bridget are all beneficiaries, meaning they are entitled to income from this trust. But things got complicated. In 2017, the 3 siblings, Carrie, Timothy, and Bridget, took a major step. They went to court to remove Patricia Ward Kelly as trustee. Why? They alleged that she wasn't doing her job properly as trustee. They claimed she wasn't giving them access to the trust's records and information, which they were entitled to see. A really big point of contention was that Patricia had formed a separate company in 2011 called the Gene Kelly Legacy, Inc. The children argued that this new company was basically competing with the Image Trust. They believed it allowed Patricia to personally keep income that should have gone into the trust for them, the beneficiaries. Imagine that the person supposed to be managing your father's legacy for your benefit is accused of setting up a rival operation. This wasn't just a quiet disagreement. It became a full-blown legal battle. The kids wanted to see documents from the Gene Kelly Legacy, Inc., especially about deals with big companies like Warner Brothers, for using film clips and Gene Kelly's image. Patricia tried to block this, asking for a protective order, a glimmer of justice, the court's decision. This is where things took a crucial turn. The probate court didn't agree with Patricia. They denied her motion to keep those documents secret, saying the information the kids wanted was relevant. The court even said it looked like the Gene Kelly Legacy, Inc.'s entity appeared to be competing to some extent in terms of the funds that would otherwise be available to the Image Trust. That's a pretty big statement from the court. On top of that, the court hit Patricia with monetary sanctions, basically a fine of $600 because her attempt to block the kids was without substantial justification. And this decision was upheld by an appellate court. This was a significant moment for Carrie, Timothy, and Bridget. It was a step towards transparency and accountability in how their father's incredible legacy was being managed. Each of Gene Kelly's children, in their own unique way, navigated the towering shadow of their father's fame. They didn't just live off his name. They forged their own identities, faced their own battles, both personal and legal, and showed incredible strength and integrity.